Barring last-minute changes, the House of Representatives will on Wednesday conduct a budget defense on the 1.481 trillion naira proposed for Rivers State for the 2025 fiscal year. Nigerian Tribune has authoritatively gathered. The proposed budget defense is being organized by the ADA Committee on Rivers State Oversight, chaired by Honorable Julius Ohonvere. To this end, the River State Sole Administrator, Vice Admiral Ibas, is expected to make a formal presentation to the ad hoc committee. Recall that President Bola Tinubu had on Thursday, 22nd of May 2025, formally requested the House's approval for the sum of 1.481 trillion naira as the 2025 budget proposal for River State. President Tinubu's request was read by Speaker Tajuddin Abbas during plenary. A breakdown of the proposed budget shows that the sum of 324 billion naira is allocated for infrastructure, covering both ongoing and new projects. The sum of 166 billion naira is earmarked for health, including 5 billion naira for free drugs for the treatment of malaria and other common ailments. A total of 75.6 billion naira is allocated for education, while 31.4 billion naira is proposed for agriculture, which is projected to generate approximately 6,000 jobs alongside other spending plans, prioritizing investment in critical sectors of the state. While noting that the River State itself is currently under emergency rule, proclaimed and duly gazetted in March 2025, Mr. President acknowledged that the 2025 money bill requires the National Assembly's authorization for expenditure from the consolidated revenue of River State in the absence of a state assembly. The budget proposal was subsequently passed through second reading on the floor of the House on Thursday, 28th of May 2025, and referred to the Ohonvere-led ad hoc committee for further legislative action. Honorable Kingsley, what are your thoughts on this report?
I have a major thought. The budget has been presented to the National Assembly and has passed the second reading, and now sent to the committee. So I think that nothing much. We're only just waiting for the passage of that budget proposal. Then we'll begin to see the speedy usage of that appropriation in Rivers State. As it is today, nothing is actually happening in the state. Of course, probably because of the fact that the state doesn't have a budget to operate on. And so when this is finally passed, it would bring about speedy development in the state, and even the sole administrator will have something to work on. Perhaps for the past 2 months that he's been in office, and he may probably not have enough to work with. That could be the reason for which nothing is happening. And so we all believe that by virtue of the passage of this budget proposal, a lot would begin to happen. The economy of Rivers State will begin to bubble again, and Rivers people will begin to see reasons for which they should be happy for their own state, a state that used to once bubble, as it were, you know. But for the past few months, I assure you nothing is happening. But we thank God for what is about to happen, and we look forward to greater opportunities that will emanate from the passage of this budget.
Thank you so much. Mr. Nze, I want to gather your thoughts as regards. Do you think if this bill is passed, we are indeed going to bubble in River State like Honorable
how do you think we will bubble? Honestly, I can't just understand this Exodus movement, this political dispensation is playing with River State and its governance. What I see here is like what some of us frown at in the higher institutions, where a student that has been taught for 4 years will be asked to make a project, write a project, and he gives that project to another person. budget and perhaps start implementation if there will be time or space for him to do that. Only for him to be dropped and another person will come again to continue on a budget that another person defended and started implementing. So I see that in as much as the elites get what they are looking for, what happens with the rest of the masses to them is immaterial.
But you did say he must have made some adjustments to the bill.
Yeah, he had to make some adjustments to accommodate his own choppings. Yeah. Permit me to speak. I am the advocate of the masses. I speak from the viewpoint of the masses. Because whether this budget is passed or not passed, you can recall that Ibas came in, I think, in the month of March.
Yes.
And he has been running the state for 2 months plus now. Few days now to come, he'll be there 3 months. And he has been running the state. With which budget? With fund from where? What the budget of Rivers State government is telling, the question one will ask is how will it affect the common man on the street? Yeah, we are talking about 1.4 trillion plus.
Yes.
How will this bulk of money affect the Rivers man on the street? How will it affect the Rivers woman in the farm? How will it affect the Rivers fisherman in the water, in the creeks? How? That's the question. Because
but there's a large sum, stapled for agriculture.
No. When you call that large sum, I will frown with you. I'll frown at you because what is 3 point something? They are promising us making if I will say a kind of free and wide speech that it will employ 6,000. How? Then you need to show us how that's the 3 point something billion will give 6 point something 6 million Rivers youths employment. Tell us how. Don't just come and say it on television or in the papers. Tell us how. Let us see A, B, C. This is what and what has been stipulated out. How these things will bring people to. I had expected agriculture to work side by side with education. I had expected agriculture to work side by side with infrastructure. But you see that they gave infrastructure the highest, 300 and something billion. And agriculture, 3 points. And agriculture is what produces the strength that men will have to do infrastructure and the rest of them. So to me, I think that agriculture should have taken the good chunk of that budget, because when you mobilize the people, when you produce what you eat, you have less problem.
Right.
Look at the crisis we're having all over. Even though they said the Ibas, the solar administrator Ibas, came to restore peace. The question I keep on asking, has that peace been restored in Rivers State? Or is it just that we stop hearing about, if anything happens, we'll blow pipeline? We have stopped hearing about that. But people are still being killed on regular basis. Which means either the law enforcement agencies are not doing what they're supposed to do, or the politicians who train up these hoodlums and criminals are still, working free with their actions. And look at the kind of crisis that is happening in Diob. Look at the number of people that die every day on their own. Free citizens of Nigerians who are going on with their legitimate duties, and somehow stray bullets from hooligans, from miscreants, we just pick up someone and he dies. And some of these people are breadwinners of a family. Look at a taxi driver being struck by stray bullet and he dies. Look at a market woman who has left her children going to the market to trade, and perhaps at the end of the day return home with some gari for the children to take, only for the children to keep waiting for their mother indefinitely, not knowing that the stray bullet from these miscreants has picked a woman.
Sadly.
So the question I keep asking is, what will be the benefit of Rivers people from this budget that the sole administration is going to defend?
Right.
That's my question.
I want to push that question to Honorable Kingsley. What will be the benefit of Rivers people? He has said that the bill isn't coherent.
Before I go to the benefits, let me disagree completely from the area he told while he was talking. First and foremost, that budget was not made by the suspended governor.
Okay.
It was not. By the grace of God, I'm an academic. I'm in the academia. You use a narrative of a project or whatever it is. Somebody writes a project and all that. When somebody writes a project for you and you come before a panel for a defense, the panel will know that you are not the one who did that project.
But that's exactly what he was trying to say.
Good.
Right.
Now, when Ibas presented that, even today, when you be sitting before the committee, you will notice that it was not something that was presented by another. Because that particular proposal he made was not done by the previous suspended governor.
You are opining that it was his original.
This is his original document. That's one. Number two, he made some serious mistakes when he was calling the figures. The amount of money appropriated for agriculture is not 3 billion. It's 31 point something billion, not 3 billion. That's two. Number three, you talked about providing job for 6 million, not 6 million. You say 6,000.
6,000.
6,000, not 6 million. That's fair. Again, when you talk about the budget, how it will affect the people, in a very serious ways, it will affect the people. First, if you look at that budget proposal, it talked about debt payments. Now, those debts were borrowed by the previous government, not this government, by the suspended governor. And I am not going to question the veracity of those borrowings, because it was borrowed for Rivers people. And it was borrowed to do whatever he has done with those borrowing for Rivers people. We're not questioning the amount of money, humongous amount of money that was budgeted inappropriately, illegally unconstitutionally that he has expended the way he expended them. Nobody's talking about that. The 2024 budget. Of course, you know, even the Supreme Court has said that it was illegal. And so nobody's even talking about that. While you expended such humongous amount of money illegally, you still have borrowings that this particular budget has already made provisions to handle. Now, you talked about the infrastructure. That is not how agriculture could be the same or higher than infrastructure. Do you know how much a bridge costs?
Do we need bridges or we need to feed people?
We need bridges as well as you need to feed people.
Okay.
Because if you don't have access to good roads where those products you want to produce in the farms will be used to get to the market, you can't sell those products. Will you? You won't. If you don't have good road where you drive through and carry those your products from the farm through the road to the market, you cannot. And these things cost a lot of money. And so you cannot expect that the amount of money you invest in agriculture per a season will be the same amount of money you spend in infrastructure. It has never been anywhere in the whole world. It's not possible. And so you can't put two of them together. Now he talked about health. Health is governed 166 billion. And so there is no how you will say health facilities will not have direct impact with the people. Who then assesses those health facilities? Is it not the people? When they are sick, is it animals that will go to those hospitals? So there is no how you look at the whole budget. In fact, this budget was very conservative to the extent that it just four major things. It didn't just go to different issues, youth, these and all that. Look at where the infrastructure, healthcare, education, and agriculture. And when you look at these four major areas, it's all about the people. So I think that this particular budget will have enough to do in the economy of Rivers State. And now when you have direct and indirect labor of 6,000 persons only from agriculture, you've not talked about the issue of health. When they are building health facilities, people will work there directly. There will be an indirect employment. Women who will sell things and all that. This provides indirect jobs. When you go to the infrastructure, as they build the flyovers and build the roads, people will supply sands. People will supply chippings. In that site where these things are kept, people will work there. People will sell. There will be direct and indirect jobs provided. So in all, you look at the four areas, the four cardinal areas that the budget has captured, it has direct impact on the people. And so I think that when we say it doesn't have impact, we might be biased. Because I wouldn't say he doesn't know what he's saying. I understand he's a man who understands. He could be speaking from a biased point of view. You understand what I'm saying? And so look at these things very, very clearly to understand that the four major areas that this budget captured are directly things that have direct impact to the people.
So he thinks it has direct impact. Do you have anything to add?
Starting with the last statement of my friend, Honorable Kingsley, you know, I am a man that is propaganda friendly. Do you know why? Since 1983, I started dealing with issues of propaganda as a young man. So I don't care how it comes. It never changes my mood, nor my position. Look at, I said that this budget will not have direct effect on the people.
But he has listed agriculture.
I will still come to that. Right. Yes, I acknowledge the mistakes I made, you know, in terms of figures and all that. The 6,000, the 3,000 instead of, my interest was actually the percentage, not the figure. But if we'll come back to that, because where we get it wrong, we should be able to acknowledge that. Right. Now, my dear, infrastructure, basically roads, to start with, we got 300 and something billions. Infrastructure, roads are not seasonal thing. There are things we use every day, but we can use one road for more than 30, 40, 50 years. without reconstructing it. Then coming to...
Is that if it's well maintained?
I'm coming. Because when I said I have just given you a kind of lifespan of road, the next thing will be how the contractor that is handling it handles it. Because you see some of the bridge we use here in River State, if you compare it with the one we have in Abia State in Osisioma, you will now know the differences. There's some bridge you'll be going, you know, your vehicle will be jumping up and down and things like that. So if the administration of Peter Odele had constructed road, administration of Celestino Mayor for 3 months had constructed road, if so.
6 months.
6 months rather. If administration of Chibika Mechi had constructed road, and the administration of Yeson Wike had constructed road, and now in the administration of Simfobara, we say slow down on road, mobilize us to produce what we eat. We're here in this place. The food, you know that Gari is major food in Nigeria today.
Yes.
The Gari that sustains River State as we speak now is from 3 states: Enugu, Ebonyi, and Cross River. Partly Benue. But that of Benue, not many people will accept it because of the smell it produces. And sometimes they don't fry it dry. But majorly Enugu and Ebonyi State. Yet, in River State, we pride ourselves as Ikwere Gari, Ogoni Gari, that cannot even feed the locals within the environment where it was produced. Why can't we give more effort? We have vast land in River State. And God bless River State that their land is as fertile, though not up to Enugu land, but their land is so fertile. Yeah. That if we can empower these people, and not just empowering the rural farmers, you know, all those peasant farmers, government as an institution can establish agricultural factories. Look at the type that the former governor Yeson Wike tried to establish the Gari plant, processing plant in Afam. What is happening to that plant today? And if that plant is working, who is supplying it raw material? Does the government of River State or even Oyibo local government have a farm, a vast land? If you go to Oyibo local, you see land. You see land. Are they maximizing those land? We are in River State, surrounded by water. How much is River State Ministry of Agriculture doing with this water to produce aquatic foodstuff? How much? You are telling me that you budget that 1 billion. What is that 1 billion compared to the economy of Nigeria today? If you change that 1 billion to dollar, how much will it give you? Do you now see where my argument is coming from? And you are giving 300 and something billion to infrastructure that successive governments have been dealing with. And this infrastructure, if any road you build today, you build maybe let's say from a chair, from what do we call it, Egui to Afara, you build road that will lead to that village, to even if you follow Nihi and the rest of the, all those road that transverse across that area can still bring food to town for 3 years without being damaged. And you're telling me that is why I said.
So you think there's already a road network that
we have some road network, not all, because if you travel from Okomoko to what's the name of that village? There's this other village after Okomoko, going inside after Okolago inside. I will remember the name. I traveled that road. I say, is this still in River State? Is this still in River State? That community is connected to Umwebleche somehow. From this other side, you know, crossing the water. I will remember the name. Now, and if you come to that place, I have some properties around there. If you see the vast land in that place, and nobody is utilizing it. I was crossing the other day when I saw a woman and man harvesting their, what's it called, cucumber, in bags, in 2 plots of land. I had to stop. I said, Madam, I want to buy. He said, we are not selling, sir. You see bags. Say, why won't you sell? He said, no, that they have all booked it. that if I want to eat, they'll give me the one to eat. I said, please, I want to eat. They said I should go and bring bag. Unfortunately, I wasn't having bag. I said, I don't have bag. You can use your bag, put it, then just pour in my boot. And that was how they feed my boot with cucumber. Free of charge. Right from the source. Tell me, if the government of Rivers State can come to this place, take like 100 acres, 200 acres, and plant cucumber, we will be buying cucumber at 300 naira per one. We will be buying cucumber at 500 naira per one. Because when you produce these things and they are available to the people, the price will crash.
But then this 31 billion.
It can't do that. This 31 billion can't do that. Look, we have 23 local government areas. So you tell me that in one local government you spend 1.5 billion. In one local government, you spend 1.5 billion to do what? I'm a farmer. If you use, let's say for instance you want to plant pepper. Okay, let me leave pepper aside because pepper will take some time. You want to plant cassava. That will take you 6 months to harvest, 6 to 8 months to harvest. It will cost you for 1 1.5 million naira to the initial job. So you are now telling me that you use 1.5 billion.
Can I come in here?
So if we look at all this
Yes,
from the angle, if we look at this is from the angle, if I would say from the practical viewpoint,
from the agricultural
you see that the budget is not into right home about.
Do you think so? Do you think the budget is not into right home?
Yes, the budget is very small. But just opposing that budget to what we had in 2023 and 2024, you will notice that the government frittered away our money without doing anything. In 2023, we had 382 billion budgeted for agriculture. Nothing happened. Not even the Songhai farm was revamped. Nothing was done. In 2024, a total sum of 800 billion was budgeted for agriculture. The budget that they cut, if it's even said it was illegal, they frittered it and pocketed this money. Nothing happened. And so you still want another humongous amount of money to be appropriated to agriculture and nothing will happen. What this man looked at, like he said, is to look at the areas who have something, structures already in agriculture. And we now look at how we can revamp them and get things out of them. For example, he has already visited the Songhai farm. And he said work is about to resume there. And the Buguma fish farm and other fish farms, work is about to, the Oyibo, whatever. So these are areas that he has seen that previous government have done something already. And so rather than appropriating humongous amount of money and yet we frittered away, let us look for how we can, consolidate on what we have already and now make something out of it. That's exactly.
So that is what this budget is for. It's not to build a new.
No, not a new farm settlement, not new anything. We want to revamp the old farms that we have already in the state and see how these farms can feed the people. That's exactly what he's doing. And so when my brother talking about Enugu has a bigger, better land, I have a house in Enugu. My family stays in Enugu. How will Enugu, with the rocky soils and the stones they have, you have a better place than Neche and all that? So that was wrong. He is from Enugu. He's trying to, Who told you he's from Enugu? He's from Enugu. So in Rivers State, we have local government like Eche. He's even talking about Igbo. Does Igbo have land? Even part of where Igbo stay is owned by Eche. Talk about Kana. Talk about Eche. Talk about Ahoda. Where you have acres that, like some of the farms I have, we live there for 10 years before we cultivate it. That's why we don't use fertilizers in my place. The leaves will fall for over 10 years and become manure. So whatever you plant. And even in Enugu, you're talking about, my family stays in Enugu, and most of the food they eat comes from Boko. The yam, I go to Benue to buy yam and drop for my family. And most of the food, so we're not talking about, when you see a government that is serious, that government will be ready to provide food for her people. Not about the amount of money appropriated on agriculture. It's about how you manage a little that has been appropriated to bring about something out of it. And that's exactly what I see this man trying to do.
And you think this is going to bring out those
that
results?
1 billion naira is enough to revamp these sectors and bring something out of it. That's exactly what I think. People who are serious would go into farming. In Nigeria, generally, it's only enough that we see that are living into farming. Right. Some recently, the West, Para State, is investing in agriculture. Right. And so they do more of large-scale farming than what we do here. If the government can begin to think about what this man is doing is just in the short term, because his time is not going to be long. Right. So whatever you see him do is in the short term. So nobody should blame him. People should look at the time he has to spend in government. You know, vis-a-vis, you know, the challenge we have today in Rivers State.
Right. If we're going to look at the time, then why is the budget for infrastructure so high? Will he be there to complete?
There are a lot of infrastructure that are ongoing. A lot of projects that are ongoing.
Right.
And so
the idea is just continuity.
Yes, there must be continuity.
Right.
So if you look at some of these bridges and these roads that are building, some of the contractors are pulled out. They need money. And so these things are going to take care of all these things.
Right.
You know, so he's not doing any serious budget that he must be, no, like he said, he's just putting for himself. I don't think so. If he was even a man that is given to that, by now he would have been seeing what is happening. He doesn't even have money. Because there is an amount of money a governor will spend without budgeting, which is already provided by law. That's exactly what the man is doing. Right. We understand governance, and I understand what he's doing. So let us not be speaking, for, like I said before, from a biased point of view.
Very well. Thank you so much for your input.